Hello everyone, and welcome back to the Mojo-Farm Photoshop tutorial, part 3 of creating a custom forum signature. Alright, we've left off with placing the image for the clipping mask. Now we're going to move on into placing other images, clip art images, and editing those clip art using the selection tools. Then we'll move on to tips, text tips and tricks before we move into the next and final phase of our tutorial. So back to Photoshop. On here to just deselect my layers. I'm not exactly sure where I'm at, so let me just check my notes here. Alright. Let's start placing some images. I've got some the ice dragon layer and the dragon, so let's go ahead and bring that one in. So we'll just do the same thing. I want to be on top of my snowflake layer though, because I want it to be between my snowflakes and my border. So I want to bring in my images here, so that means if I want to be on top of this one, I've got to have that one to be my active layer while I say File, Place. So File, Place, and let's bring in this winter ice dragon layer that I've saved. Let's say Place, that I've saved from Bankai's unreleased images. So, but I did save them locally. I'm not calling out to his files. So now this, I'm doing the opposite. I'm making it smaller. Let's move that. I'm holding down the Shift key again, making it smaller. Maybe not so small for the dragon. So, and we need to separate those two. This is exactly where we don't really want this to be a smart object. So let's make our dragon about the size we want. Commit our size change by clicking the X. Okay, now how do we get those to be separate? How do we get that to be a raster layer? Okay, let's just go ahead and rasterize the layer. We've got our layer selected. It's showing us that it's a smart object. It's got this little icon showing us that it's a smart object that we're still calling out to that other file. But we can just right click and say rasterize layer. Or we can come up to here and go to the layer, because that's the layer that that's what we want to affect. And so we're going to get the same. Yeah, rasterize smart object. Okay, see how that changed? Now you can see there's a little blue in there. It's really teeny tiny. You just can't see it, but the dragon's there too. So let's separate those. Now we're going to use a selection tool. Now we've got, these are the ones that probably people use the most. It's the rectangle and the circle, or the single row. A rectangle and circle are probably the elliptical are probably the most used. But we want to come down here, and this is just our regular lasso tool, and we can just draw with it. Or I kind of like this polygonal lasso tool, because every time you click, then it's just a straight line. So then I can click there. Whoops. And I've selected around my dragon, and I know that I'm selecting the dragon because I'm still on that layer. Now, since this is a selection, we want to edit it actually. We'll say edit, cut, or just Control X. We want a new layer, and we can say edit, paste, or just Control V. Now use our move tool so we can move him. We'll just move him over here for now. Now let's go back to the layer and transform it again. We can either say edit, transform, scale, free transform, or just do Control T. All right. I'm holding my shift key again. Let's move it over here. Just a smidge bigger. Say yes, that's what I want. All right. I'm going to move that dragon over just a little bit. And that layer 1 I'm going to name dragon. All right. What about if I want to add just a piece of clip art that I found on the web? So let's just do that now. Say File, Place. I've got these polar bears. Okay, these are really big, so let's bring them down. And this is a regular JPEG image, so it's got a white background, but that's not going to be a problem. So, and I really only want the left polar bear, so I'm going to scale that to be about the size that I want. And commit my change. Now this is still a smart object, so I want to do the same thing that I did before. Right click, rasterize the layer. Now I can edit this layer. I'm going to show you a different selection tool. I'm going to use the Magic Wand tool. And I'm going to zoom in, press my space bar so I can use my hand to move my my workspace around. And still I haven't changed from my Magic Wand layer. Now I'm going to, this is my tolerance. This is telling me that it's going to be choosing 14 shades of whatever I click on. If I click on this white, it'll go 14 pixel shades one way or the other. And so, but since it's up against a black border, I'm not worried about that. I think default is like 21. I brought it down to 14 just so it doesn't bite into it so much. So I click on that. See, it's chosen all of this white around. Everything that is contiguous. See right here where it says contiguous is checked. So that means I'm missing a little bit right here. If I have this, this is just one selection. So if I select over here now, it's going to select that spot, or select here, wherever it is contiguous. And so I'm going to have more than one selection, obviously. So I'm going to have this where it says add to selection. This is subtract from selection. I want to add to selection, so just keep that second one. And see, it's got the little plus next to my Magic Wand, and I'm going to click in that other piece that we don't want there. So it look like everything we don't want? It does. So everything around these polar bears now is selected, so I'm just going to hit my delete key. All gone. Our selection is still there, so we want to release that. Control D. Oh, I see a little piece of white right in there. But first let's get rid of this other polar bear. So let's just use the rectangular marquee because we can just pull him out in one big shot. We're still on that layer where we've got these royalty-free polar bears that I found out on the web. So let me just select him and delete. Now let's deselect. Let's zoom in and get that little piece right there. Control plus. Let's get in a little tighter. Let's get our little Magic Wand again. Click that spot. Delete. Okay, I'm missing that little spot, so I'll probably just take my little eraser, deselect, and swipe that in there. The eraser is like a paintbrush, so that's got a size. You also have shortcuts for that. You can either come up here and change your brush size right here, or you can just use your brackets. Your right bracket makes your brush bigger, your left bracket makes it smaller. Whoops. See, I took out a piece of his knee and I didn't want to do that. Control Z. Okay, enough of that. Our polar bear's in place. Let's zoom back out. I think we're ready for some text. Or maybe this dragon needs to be flying a little bit. But let's put in our text first. So, let's choose the text tool. It's going to make a text layer right on top of this layer of the polar bears. And up here is our context menu. I've got my text tool chosen. In here, the flyout shows horizontal or vertical. It also has that same menu up here. But let's choose our font. I think impact is good because it's going to be a nice big fat font. We're also going to do a clipping mask here. 48 is probably good too. Center, so I can just center my my cursor right here. And our We Rule name is going to be Polar, whoops, I want to capital, Ruler. Now, I can either commit this now, but I want to change it a little bit. I guess I don't want to change that a little bit. Okay, I'll show you on the other font. So I'll just commit that because that's about the size that we want. No, actually we want it to be bigger. So let's come over here. Actually we need all of the text selected. Come over here and we can either use the drop down menu or see I'm just sliding right there where the T's are. Maybe about pretty big. Let's do about that big. Commit it, and now use the move tool to move it into place. Right about there. A little bit higher. Okay, here's another tip. You've got your move tool selected. We've got our text layer selected, but maybe I just want to nudge it over just a little bit. Well, now you can use your arrow keys. By pushing your arrow keys, this is called a nudge, and it just goes any way your arrow, you're pushing your arrow for it. So let's just nudge that into place. Now we're going to add another image because we're going to clip it to this Polar Rule text layer. Text layers are just like a shape layer, so they work great for clipping masks, and we can show an image right through it. So let's do that. File, place. I've got this snow cave thing. It's really big, so I can't even see the handle, so I'm going to have to zoom out. Make it smaller. Move it over. Please watch part 4 to continue the text edits and to accommodate the length of this tutorial. We'll pick up with the text and move on to the end of our project.